Hello everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. For today's webinar, we'll be introducing the new Fronius GEN24 inverter. So your presenter today will be myself, Byron Kutsa. I'm the Technical Sales Advisor for the Southern African region. And joining me today is my colleague, David Mongi, who is the Technical Sales Advisor for the Eastern African region. So for today's agenda, we'll be covering a product insight, as well as the different power classes for the inverter, as well as the product's implementation, and as well as further information at the end of the webinar for any additional information required. Before we start, please feel free to ask questions during the webinar in the chat, and we will tend to your questions as soon as we can. And lastly, your opinion is important to us, so we greatly appreciate your feedback regarding the webinars and the topics we are covering. So, an introduction. So, Fronius believes in our 24 hours of sun vision. So, this is utilizing your a better for a better world. So, we at Fronius are leaving fossil fuels behind and getting started on the path to a cleaner, emission-free future, as well as using a constantly emission-free. So, we tap the limitless power of the sun and utilize it to meet the world's energy needs at the time of day, night, and year, as well as solar energy for our lives. So this is using electricity, mobility, and heating and cooling with Fronius itself, and allowing us sustainable energy supply is becoming all worthwhile and worth living with, as well as using intelligent solutions. So we digital network and controller energy generation and consumption solutions, because greater efficiency means greater sustainability. Energy for all. So this is our 24 hours of sun for everyone. With our intelligent solutions, sustainable energy can be stored and distributed decentrally. Sixth is we believe in sustainability. So all our products and solutions are sustainable design and made from recycled materials with the optimized repairability and remarkable longevity. And lastly, the total vision of our 24 hours of sun for everyone. So together with our customers, partners, and society, we live our goal of 24 hours of sun and contribute in important ways to an emission-free, livable future. So what do customers want? So customers want an intelligent and network total system. This will then allow for us to do maximum self-sufficiency, as well as then allowing us to do the ability to easily extend the system going forward. So we can either do sector coupling, for example, or add AC coupling to the system, for example. We can always add on additional components to the system. And lastly is the security of the system. So ensuring that no one can tamper with the system, as well as remotely interfering with the systems itself. So Fronius is introducing our new GEN24, which is designed to power. So the new GEN24 is a grid tie inverter with integrated backup power feature as standard, which is available in our Primo, which is our single phase units for 3 power classes from 3 kilowatt all the way up to 6 kilowatt, and as well as on the Simo, which is our 3-phase variant. This is also available in power class 3 all the way up to 10 kilowatt variants. So the heart of the PV system using Fronius. So your energy transmission, your solution with the Fronius GEN24 is an inverter that lets our customers use their self-generated solar energy, flexible and directly. So with the Fronius GEN24 Plus, so they can bring 24 hours of sun into their homes. So this is the hybrid inverter, can be connected to battery storage, give them even greater independence with their energy supply. Using electricity for their heating, cooling, and e-mobility is all possible. The product strengths with the Fronius GEN24 range. So this is a backup power for every situation. So for the more reliable, the better. So this also applies when it comes to living with sustainable energy from our own PV systems. This is why the Fronius GEN24 and GEN24 Plus offer a variety of backup power options for every situation. So both inverters can supply basic backup power via the PV point, which is a socket that supplies loads with up to 3 kilowatts, when the sun is shining. So if you have sufficient PV generation, you can then supply that PV socket itself fully independent of you having a battery in the system or a grid reference for the system. And with the Fronius GEN24 Plus, it offers a comprehensive backup power supply via our full backup, even for large loads such as heat pumps. So our basic power supply, so this is our PV on board, also known as our PV point. So this is a backup power connection supplies in case of the grid outage. It does an automatic switch over in case of any grid outages, and it's also is limited to only supplying a single phase electrical loads of up to 3 kilowatts. So it's got easy implementation. So with the unit that you are using, so any Fronius GEN24, whether it be in the new GEN24 or the GEN24 Plus, it allows it to be used without complex additional installations. And you can also utilize your PV point supply with your battery in the system. So here's a short demonstration of how exactly. So in our system itself that we have then lost our grid reference. We are then pulling full PV generation through our PV modules itself, through the inverter, and then out directly into our PV point. We can then also use our sun generation or PV generation to then help supply our battery, to then help with the charging, and as well as the discharging of the battery through the inverter through to our PV point. So if our sun generation drops below that 3 kilowatt, we can then utilize the battery to then help supply the PV point in case of emergencies. So the comprehensive backup power supply, so this is our full backup. So it allows for complete supply of the entire household, including at night. So this allows for maximum supply through manual or automatic switching, depending on what your personal preference for the client is. And this allows for supplies of up to single and 3-phase electrical loads, and as well as your maximum energy use enables by supplying loads and charging the battery at the same time. So it's referring to our multi-flow technology. The Fronius GEN24 and Fronius GEN24 Plus were developed to let our customers customize the design of their energy self-supply as much as possible. So both inverters have open interfaces. For this reason, this makes integrating and managing Fronius with third-party devices especially straightforward. So this allows for our built-in freedom with your open interfaces. So this allows for easy integration of Fronius and third-party components, as well as utilizing your maximum energy self-sufficiency. So it enables more cost savings and self-supply. So this communication will either be done via LAN, and WLAN is possible, as well as integrating with use of our 6 digital IOs, or input outputs, as well as using your Modbus RTU, so RS485, or your Modbus TCPs, or utilizing our solar API protocols. So the maximum self-consumption through sector coupling. So with the GEN24, we can then utilize the system itself to have our DC coupled battery storage, and as well as utilizing our PV point. And for this example, we are sector coupling with our Fronius Ohm Pilot, which is our heating solution, and our Fronius Watt Pilot, which is our EV charging solution. So all the systems will need a Fronius smart meter in the system, our main grid meter. So this is by feeding excessive energy into the other energy sectors in the system. Next is the different GEN24 variants. So as mentioned, we are introducing our new GEN24, and there's also previously our version was the GEN24 Plus. So this allows you to do a battery connection is included. So with multi-flow technology, this is only on the Plus variant, your basic power, which is our PV point, which is available on both GEN24 and GEN24 Plus. Full backup is only available on the Plus variants, as well as your open interfaces, so your Modbus and solar APIs, etc. is available on both variants of the Gen24 series, as well as your energy management. So this is using excessive PV surplus energy to then trigger different relays to open with the IOs, or utilizing the Watt Pilot and Ohm Pilot. This is available on both Gen24 and Gen24 Plus. Both of inverters use the same active cooling technology, as well as using our shade management or dynamic peak manager. And then lastly, the possibility of connection to SolarWeb is available on both versions of inverter. Next is the cost savings without battery. So this is with the PV system without battery storage for now, but AEV charging and hot water generation with surplus energy and backup power. So what you would need in this configuration, you would need your Fronius GEN24, which is compatible with the Ohm Pilot and Watt Pilot, as well as utilizing your PV point, and then it's also available on the sine mode 3 to 10 and prime mode 3 to 6. So this shows us a savings difference to the Gen24 Plus, as well as your battery storage and also your backup switch and installation effort for it. So this gives you a cost saving of roughly 15,000 euros annually, estimated, with the system itself. The cost savings with the PV point. So again, this is our PV point on board, built in on the Gen24 and Gen24 Plus. This is again a single phase of up to 3 kilowatts is available without your battery storage. So any during daytime grid failure, for example, you can then utilize your PV point. Again, easy installation, so no backup power switch is required for it. And this annually gives you a cost saving roughly about 15,000 or 1,500 euros annually. So the versatility as standard, so more features, more control, and more supply with the energy management functions of the Gen24 and Gen24 Plus. So you effectively save time and money utilizing the Gen24 series. The device design allows for quick and flexible installations, while our software achieves optimal yields, even in shaded conditions. At the same time, the integrated active cooling extends the service life and thus secures our customers' investment long term. I will now be handing over to David Mongi, who will now be continuing with the webinar.
Thank you so much, Byron. I will now take over and continue with the rest of the presentation. So just a moment. Let's talk about the inverter features of the Gen24 inverter. So the Gen24 inverter, both the SIMO and PRIMO versions of it, are designed to offer you absolute planning flexibility, starting off with what we refer to as the SuperFlex design. So in terms of analyzing what these SuperFlex design capabilities are, we are talking about the possibility, for instance, to start with a wide voltage range for input on the DC side. And this means that you can design your PV array starting with 3 modules. In terms of the maximum DC voltage for the PRIMO inverter, the Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus, you can go to a maximum of 600 volts DC, but the MPPT operational voltage is starting from 65 to 530 volts DC. So both the Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus have 2 MPPTs. So the first MPPT can take 22 amps and the second MPPT takes about 12 amps. And of course, for the Gen24 Plus, you have an active battery connection that takes a maximum of 22 amps. So it means here you have the possibility for doing 3 alignments. So we look at this later. So it's also possible to do oversizing on both the Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus. So in terms of the DC to AC ratio, you can achieve a factor of about 150% oversizing. The power classes for the Gen24 and Gen24 Plus are from 3.0 up to 6 kilowatt. When it comes to the SIMO version of it, we are also looking at the super flex design capability. Also here we have a wide input voltage, and therefore it makes it possible to start with 3 modules on your PV array. The maximum voltage on the DC side for the SIMO version is 1000 volts, and the MPPT operating voltage starting from 80 to 800 volts. It also has 2 MPPTs. So the first MPPT, so we have here also to differentiate between the smaller SIMO and the bigger SIMO. So we have a smaller SIMO power class, 3.0 to 5.0 kilowatt, which has 2 MPPTs, 12.5 amps, and 1 battery connection starting or doing a maximum of 12.5 amps. So here you can see a difference with a bigger SIMO that is starting from 6 to 10 kilowatt, has the capability to take 25 amps on the first MPPT and 12.5 amps on the second. And then for the battery connection, just like the Primo, we are able to connect and draw a maximum of 22 amps. So in terms of oversizing, we can achieve the same DC to AC ratio of about 150%. And the power classes, just like listed here, we are starting from 3 up to 10 kilowatt for the SIMO Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus. So coming to the maximum yields, so both the Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus have the dynamic peak manager integrated. So this is very helpful to help in maximizing your yields. So the dynamic peak manager basically is a shade management algorithm and is able to optimize yield at string level. So this means that with the Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus, you do not need additional components on the DC side, such as DC optimizers. And therefore, the dynamic peak manager makes the cost of integrating a Gen24 Plus or Gen24 inverter, for that matter, minimal in terms of the cost as well as the installation effort. So in terms of understanding better how this dynamic peak manager is designed, so this is a highly efficient shade tolerant algorithm that is analyzing the IV curve of the module at regular intervals, and then based on this information, it's able to identify the point that has the highest generated power, and this is what we refer to as the global maximum power point. So here to the left, we have an IV curve or a power voltage curve. So we can see one curve in blue here that has no shading. So we have a very clear global maximum power point where the production would be very high. But we have 2 instances whereby we have some shading in it. So the red one, we can see there is a dip here. And then because of this shading, we can then have 2 possible maximum power points. So both the black and the red curves would have 2 possible maximum power points. So if an inverter is not intelligent enough, and by this I mean it does not shift its operating point voltage-wise, then it's very easy for that inverter to get stuck at the local maximum power point, meaning that it's not going to get the maximum yield out of the PV array. But with the Fronius inverter, the Gen24 Plus and the Gen24, because of the dynamic peak manager, the inverter is able to shift the operating point. It could be by reducing the MPP voltage, and therefore it's able to establish the point where there is maximum power, and therefore shifts the operating point to this global maximum point in this case. So in addition to that, the Gen24 has integrated active cooling technology. So this allows the inverter to give you top performance despite of high heat. In addition to that, we have we achieve very long service life because, as you know, electronic components are very sensitive to heat. And the general rule of thumb would be that for every 10 degrees increase in the operating temperature of an electronic component, you essentially would be cutting the life expectancy by half. In addition to that, we have greater yield because of active cooling. The inverter does not derate even at high ambient temperatures. So in most instances, research has shown that most inverters that do not have active cooling would start derating their power output when the ambient temperature starts going above 30 degrees Celsius. But the Gen24 Plus and the Gen24 are able to operate even at 40 degrees Celsius ambient temperature without derating power output. So it gives you also a lot of flexibility in plant design because of this. So you're not limited even in terms of inverter orientation, in terms of installation. So you can have a vertical, horizontal, or an inclined installation. So you get a lot of flexibility in this manner. Because of active cooling, we also experience low maintenance costs because you do not have to make as many trips to site to clear any dust on the cooling fins, because the active air circulation by the fan is able to push the dust that would accumulate on the cooling fins. As you can see them very well designed on the Gen24 inverter. So coming back to Superflex design. So we have seen a huge growth of demand for PV systems in the market, and therefore it means that everybody who has a roof structure existing, no matter how complicated it looks, has a desire to install a PV system, and therefore we are faced with a lot of complexity when designing the PV array on the roof top. But that does not limit both the Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus because they do have the Superflex design capability, which allows roofs with multiple orientations to be covered with PV in the most efficient manner. So here we are talking about PV system design flexibility. And in this case, when you look at the flexibility that we are offering with the two inverters, whether the Primo or the SIMO version of it, we have the two MPPTs. So with the two MPPTs, you can have two different orientation or a maximum of 3 in some cases. And because also of the broad input voltage, as we talked about, starting from 80 to 1000 for the SIMO version and 65 to 600 volts for the Primo version, you can connect some modules in different orientations, just like this example given here. So you can have an east-western system orientation with 10 modules each. And then if you have a carport, for example, you could have a short string there that has only 3 modules, and you're able to connect this and pair it up also with the same Gen24 inverter. So we already talked about the high carrying capacity of the MPPTs. So we have the SIMO with the first MPPT doing 25 amps and the second doing 12.5 amps. So here you also get a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can design your DC string. And we see here that the first MPPT, for example, can take the entire PV power as per the nameplate rating of the inverter. So if you are designing a PV array for a 10 kilowatt inverter, you can connect all this power, including the 150% oversizing, to the first MPPT. So the Gen24 inverter also has sustainability in its concept. So it's an inverter that is future-proof. So if you are in a country where SolarWeb or WebShop is active, you can at a later stage upgrade a Gen24 inverter to a Plus version. And therefore it means that you get, in addition to the existing benefits of the Gen24, you get the extra benefit of the Gen24 Plus version. So we can see here, for example, you can now be able to connect a battery system to a Gen24 inverter that is upgraded to a Gen24 Plus. But remember, please hear that this is only applicable for countries where the Fronius web shop is operational. So This is a web shop that is accessed through SolarWeb. So therefore, if in your country this is not activated, it means this app storage option is not achievable at the moment. So we are also talking about the maximum self-sufficiency that is offered by the Gen24 devices. So the sustainable self-supply with 24 hours of sun. So once you now are able to upgrade a Gen24 to a plus version, you can get the most of your customers' PV system even at night. So this means you have now the possibility to combine the Gen24 Plus with a battery system, and therefore the customer can have a lot of independence from the grid supply and also reduce on their electricity costs. When it comes to the installation and commissioning of the Gen24 and Gen24 Plus inverters, you have a very easy commissioning procedure for both inverters. First of all, we have the design of the screws that are now 180 degrees quick release screws. And we also have the push-in spring-loaded clamps. So when you are connecting your DC power and AC power, you also do not require a screwdriver to secure your cables there. So you have the push spring-loaded clamps, and also a very clever wall mounting system. So you can see at the back of this photo here, we have the mounting plate onto which then the Gen24 inverter is mounted. So we also have a snap-in concept that is quite similar to the concept used for snap inverters. So the process itself involves the use of the lightweight installation plate, easy installation concept, quick release, and as mentioned, you do not require additional tools for connection of DC and AC power. When it comes to the support and tools, we have a lot of support. So Fronius offers efficient solutions for planning, installation, and system monitoring. And this boosts customer satisfaction and it reduces maintenance to a minimum. So starting off from when you're designing your system, you have access to the Fronius Solar Creator, and this allows you proper planning and designing of PV systems for your customers. And then during the commissioning process, you have a very direct and easy to use tool that we call the Fronius Solar Start. So that allows very fast and easy commissioning of your inverters. And then once the inverter is up and running, you need to monitor it, and therefore this can also be easily done within the SolarWeb app. And for operation and maintenance, we offer you the Fronius SOS app. So this is your tool for self-service, and it's available for all our installers 24 hours per day. So looking at the process of quick commissioning with the Solar Start, so this app allows you to quickly and easily set up an inverter, and this can be achieved via your mobile phone, tablet, or laptop. And the process is fast and easy, and in 3 just steps, you are able to commission, for example, a Gen24 inverter. So this is quite useful for your work. So when it comes to monitoring, we have the SolarWeb app. I believe a lot of our installers are already familiar with the SolarWeb app. So it's a user-friendly interface, simple consumption analysis. Very important also here, you can do remote firmware update for all Fronius inverters. You can also have automatic notification for error codes. If an inverter has a problem, it's able to send you an error code to Fronius SolarWeb with a short description, and you can use this error code for further troubleshooting when you're using the SOS app. Then within SolarWeb, you can also do the on-pilot and battery storage simulation. And all you need in this case is a system that has been running or in operation for at least 1 year. And with the data that has been accumulated, you are able to check whether you can now integrate either an on-pilot for hot water generation or a battery storage system. So as an example, starting with the Gen24 Plus, you can easily later on go on to SolarWeb and with the data, check whether it makes sense to integrate a battery system for your customer. So For ease of service, like I mentioned, we have the SOS. So you can decide if components require to be swapped. There is maximum repairability for all Fronius inverters, and this offers a very sustainable solution and an easy to access connection area for all Fronius inverters. This includes the Gen24, Gen24 Plus, the Tauro, as well as the Snap inverter. So we would highly recommend all our installers to download and make use of this Fronius SOS or the Solar Online Support app. So the Gen24 Plus and Gen24 inverters are actually made very sustainably right from the very start. And the life cycle analysis of these two inverters has been done, and it was reviewed by the Fraunhofer Institute. And this was a project that was carried out by Fronius R&D, and the entire life cycle of the inverters was examined. So the life cycle phases that were checked included looking at the low raw materials and where you get these raw materials, the production phase, the transport routes, the use phase, as well as the end of life management, what happens to the inverter when it's no longer in service. So the most salient points out of the LCA analysis of the Gen24 inverters, in terms of the environmental benefit, we have these benefits exceeding the cost by a factor of 9.1 to about 44.9 times. And the payback periods for climate impacts, as an example, are in the range of 0.7 to 3.3 years. And if you look at the offset in terms of the carbon dioxide that is saved from going into the environment, you have about 516,332 when using a Gen24 Plus inverter now in a complete system. So that includes your PV array and so forth. And this would be similar to saving or to flying 235 round trips from Vienna to New York. So you can see this Gen24 is going to be a remarkable solution that is going to contribute significantly to saving our environment. So this report is actually available for review. So if you can go to the Fronius website, you can be able to get further detailed information on this analysis. The Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus inverters also have received a lot of awards because of their design, application, and sustainability. And starting from 2020 up to this year, we have won consecutively all the awards that are listed here. So you can be sure that the Gen24 is an inverter that is very thoroughly reviewed and designed. When you're using the Gen24 and the Gen24 Plus inverters, you have some accessories that you can opt for. So starting off with the DC SPDs, you have the print board that comes with type 1 plus 2 SPDs. And this is for the Gen24 and includes protection for the two MPPTs. You also have the DC connector that is for connecting the MPPT trackers. Especially when you're having a situation whereby you need to pre-combine your DC array or your PV array, then you are going to require the DC connector kit. Also, the inspection kit that enables fast and quick inspection of the PV system. So you can also buy this as an option for you so that in future when you want to check the parameters of your PV array, you do not require to disconnect the cables from their waggle clamps. So you can just quickly connect the inspection kit and you're able to check and attach a meter accordingly and check the various parameters that you would want to check from your device. So in this link here, once you get the recording or the slides, there is a link that is provided that you can also download the specifications of this inspection kit. So we are now at the end of our webinar today. But before we end, let me give you some further information. So you can get a lot of details and product information from the Fronius website. So go to the fronius.com, then downloads section. If you'd like to get how to videos, webinar recordings, you can go to YouTube. There is a Sub-Sahara playlist that is available there. So there is also a link that is provided for you, and you can use that to access the various webinars that we have done for this region. If you'd like to contact any of us individually, down here are listed our contact details. If you are in West Africa, your contact person is Cyprian. In South Africa, you would have to go through Byron, and in Eastern Africa, David, myself, would be the right person for you. If you are going to contact any of the other departments in Austria, our head office, also the contact details are listed here, so feel free to get in touch with us at any time. And with that, we've come to the end of our webinar today. So we hope that you have been able to get information that will help you to differentiate between the Fronius GEN24 and the Fronius GEN24 Plus. The GEN24 is a grid-tie inverter, and the GEN24 Plus is a hybrid inverter that has a battery connection. So in addition to the features of the GEN24, once you have an upgrade or you buy the Plus version of it, you can now also additionally connect a battery system and achieve a full backup, whether in single or three-phase configuration. So that is the key difference that we wanted to present to you today, and we hope that this is clear for you. So with that, we thank you all for taking your time to join us, and we look forward to hosting you for another webinar in about 2 weeks from now. So goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day.